The first time my mother said my deployment pay had gone where it belonged. She was standing beneath a wall of white roses that I had paid for. I knew the number because I had seen the invoice. The rehearsal dinner room went quiet, not the respectful kind of quiet, but the hungry kind. The kind that happens when people realize a family argument is about to become entertainment and nobody wants to admit they are watching. Audrey sat at the head table in a satin ivory dress that was not her wedding dress, though it cost enough to need a different name. Her hair was pinned with tiny pearls. Her fiancé, Evan, had one hand on the back of her chair and the other around a champagne glass he had stopped drinking from. My mother stood beside the floral arch, one hand pressed to her chest as if she were the wounded one. My father was behind her, arms folded, chin lifted, already preparing to look disappointed in me. I was still in my army dress uniform. Audrey had asked me to wear it for the rehearsal dinner because she wanted one beautiful family photo with my soldier sister. Her words. She said it would honor me. She said it would make the night feel special. She said it would remind everyone that family sacrifices for each other. What she meant was that the uniform looked good beside the flowers. What she did not know was that the woman wearing it had already spent 6 weeks tracing every dollar she had stolen. My mother raised her voice so the whole room could hear. "That money paid for Audrey's wedding," she said, "so don't come in here acting like you've been robbed." A fork touched a plate somewhere near the back of the room and stopped. My father nodded once. Audrey looked down, then back up at me with wet eyes and a small, practiced smile. My brother Tyler whispered, "Here we go," like I was the one making a scene. I looked at my mother, then at my father, then at my sister sitting beneath the flowers my account had funded while I was 11 months deployed overseas. I said nothing. I set my water glass down. I folded my hands in my lap. Because 27 minutes earlier, Major Elise Hart from Base Legal had sent me a message. "Stay where you are. We are 5 minutes out." If you have ever sat in a room where your own family turned theft into a moral lesson, you already understand why I did not answer right away. There are moments when defending yourself gives the lie more oxygen. There are moments when the smartest thing you can do is let people finish building the record out loud. So I let them talk. And by the end of that night, the wedding account was frozen. The venue director was holding a canceled payment notice. And my sister's perfect white room had become the first place my family heard the word fraud spoken by someone they could not bully. My name is Hannah Vale. I was 34 years old, a sergeant first class in the United States Army, and at that point, I had been home from deployment for 16 days. For 11 months, I had lived by alarms, checklists, radio calls, and the kind of tired that gets into your bones and sets up camp there. I was stationed overseas with a logistics coordination unit, not the kind of job people make movies about, but the kind that keeps people fed, supplied, moved, and alive. Convoys do not roll because someone has a speech. Medical shipments do not arrive because someone feels patriotic. Every box, every signature, every route, every delay has consequences. That kind of work makes you careful. It also makes you good with records. While I was gone, I saved almost everything I could. Deployment pay, hazard allowance, basic allowance portions I did not spend. Special duty pay that came and went in pieces. I was not rich, I was disciplined. There is a difference, and families like mine are very good at pretending they do not know it. My plan was simple. Come home, pay down the last big part of my townhouse loan, replace my 12-year-old car before it embarrassed both of us. Put the rest into an education fund because I wanted to finish a master's degree when my current contract ended. I had written the plan on paper before I left. My mother had seen it. She had laughed and said, "You always make life sound like a spreadsheet." I told her spreadsheets are how people avoid emergencies. She said, "Family is how people survive emergencies." I should have heard the warning in that sentence. My sister Audrey had been engaged for 7 months when I deployed. At first, her wedding was supposed to be small. Backyard ceremony, simple dinner, no debt, no drama, She said she wanted love, not spectacle. Then she started following wedding accounts online. Within 2 months, the backyard became a renovated lakeside venue. The simple dinner became a plated reception. The playlist became a string trio. The flowers became imported white roses because Audrey had decided local roses, photographed tired. The dress required 3 fittings, 2 emotional breakdowns, and 1 emergency loan from my parents that my father loudly insisted was temporary. Everything about Audrey was temporary when she needed something. Temporary loan, temporary emergency, temporary misunderstanding, permanent consequences for whoever helped her. I loved my sister once in a way that made me slow to see her clearly. She was 4 years younger than me. When we were kids, she used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms and press her cold feet against my legs. When our parents fought, she would sit outside my bedroom door until I let her in. I learned early that if I stayed calm, Audrey stopped crying. I learned that being the strong one was a job nobody assigned formally, but everyone expected me to keep. That is how families train reliable daughters. They praise you for being steady, then act betrayed when you stop letting them lean. During deployment, Audrey sent me wedding photos constantly. Color palettes, napkin folds, table layouts. Messages that started with, "Be honest," but punished honesty immediately. "Do you think this centerpiece is too much?" "Yes." "You're so negative." "Do you think Mom is right that the ballroom package is worth it?" "No." "You don't understand how weddings work." "Do you think you could help with one thing when you get back?" "Depends what it is." "Never mind, forget I asked." I did forget mostly. I had enough real problems. My mother did not. In month 4, she called me on a video connection, so bad her face froze every few seconds. "Hannah," she said, "your sister is under a lot of pressure." "So is everyone getting married," I said. "She feels unsupported." "She has 2 parents, a fiancé, 6 bridesmaids, and a vendor team with a portal login. She's supported." My mother sighed, the long, wounded sigh she used when she wanted me to feel like I had failed a test I had not agreed to take. "You know, when you joined the army, we all had to adjust. Audrey never complained about the attention you got." I stared at the screen. The attention. The missed birthdays, the long absences, the injuries I underreported because my mother cried too easily, the funeral I watched through a phone because leave was not approved in time. "That wasn't attention," I said. "That was service. She just wants one moment that is hers. Then she should pay for the moment she wants." The screen froze on my mother's offended face. That conversation ended badly. Most conversations with my mother ended badly if I refused to provide the answer she had already rehearsed. A month later, she asked if she could forward my mail to her address because packages keep sitting at your door and it makes the place look empty. I told her Mrs. Alvarez next door already had a key and checked the place twice a week. My mother said Mrs. Alvarez was elderly. Mrs. Alvarez was 62 and did Pilates. I said no. 2 weeks after that, my father asked whether it still made sense for him to keep our family phone plan bundled, since I was overseas and some verification stuff gets confusing. He had managed the family phone account since I was 19 because he liked discounts and control in equal measure. I told him not to change anything without asking me. He said, "You always think we're trying to steal your identity." I laughed because it sounded absurd then. People think betrayal announces itself with thunder. Most of the time, it starts as paperwork. The first sign came 9 days after I got home. I was jet-lagged, unpacking slowly, living on coffee and dry cereal when my bank called from the fraud prevention department. The specialist asked me to confirm recent transfers totaling $41,820. I asked her to repeat the amount. She did. I sat down on the kitchen floor because there was a chair 5 feet away, and somehow that was too far. The transfers had gone to wedding vendors, Lakeside Manor events, Bellamy Bridal, White Harbor Florals, Crescent Catering, a travel escrow account for a honeymoon package, There were also cash withdrawals and 2 cashier's checks made from a branch less than 3 miles from my parents' house. My first feeling was not anger. It was cold. A clean, military cold. The kind that moves emotion aside so the facts can get through. I drove to the bank in uniform trousers and a plain black shirt because half my civilian clothes still smelled like storage bins. A fraud manager named Claudia Kim sat me in a glass office and spread the printouts across her desk. The replacement debit card had been mailed to my parents' address. The online access had passed verification through a backup phone number on the family plan. A transfer request form had a signature that resembled mine, but leaned too far right on the H. Whoever forged it copied the shape, but not the pressure. The cashier's check request had my father listed as a witness. The honeymoon escrow payment came from an account Audrey had used for wedding deposits. Claudia did not make me say it first. She just looked at the papers and said, "This appears to involve immediate family." I nodded. Because what else was there to do? Cry in a bank office under fluorescent lights, while a stranger politely discovered my family was willing to finance centerpieces with my deployment pay. Claudia advised me to place a full fraud hold, begin a formal dispute, and contact base legal, because the funds came directly from military pay deposits, and several access points may have involved identity misuse while I was deployed. That afternoon, I met Major Elise Hart. She was not dramatic. That was the first thing I liked about her. No shocked noises, no soft voice, no unnecessary outrage, just a legal pad, a calm face, and questions sharp enough to make lies nervous. When I finished explaining, she said, "Do not confront them yet. I already know who did it." "Yes," she said, "but knowing is not the same as preserving evidence." That sentence probably saved the case. For the next 6 days, I acted normal. I answered family texts with short sentences. I attended the final bridesmaid fitting. I stood on a platform while Audrey's seamstress pinned the hem of my uniform-inspired reception jacket, which Audrey had requested because she wanted her bridal party, cohesive with Hannah's military look. I watched my sister smile at herself in mirrors while my missing money wrapped the room around her. My mother asked why I seemed distant. "Jet lag," I said. She touched my arm. "Try to be present for your sister. You only get one wedding." I almost said, "She only got one honest chance." I did not. At night, I sat at my kitchen table with a fraud packet, bank records, and a legal timeline Major Hart helped me build. We tracked every transaction by date, amount, destination, access method, and possible responsible party. It was ugly work, but it steadied me. Ugly facts are still facts. By the time the rehearsal dinner arrived, the bank had already flagged 3 remaining vendor disbursements. The venue's final payment was scheduled for that evening. The honeymoon escrow was still pending release. The floral balance had not fully cleared. If the freeze happened in time, some of the money could be stopped before it disappeared into non-refundable contracts. The plan was not revenge. It was containment. That is what I kept telling myself as I put on my dress uniform before the rehearsal dinner. Containment, evidence, process, stay calm. Mrs. Alvarez saw me in the hallway and smiled. "You look important," she said. "I'm trying to look calm." "That too," she said. The venue looked like a magazine had swallowed my bank account. White roses everywhere, gold chairs, crystal glasses, a custom sign with Audrey and Evan's names in raised acrylic letters. There were candles inside hurricane vases, menus printed on thick paper, and a table just for gifts even though the wedding had not happened yet. My sister saw me and squealed. "There she is," she said, "my soldier sister." She hugged me too tightly, then stepped back and looked at the uniform. "Perfect," she said. Not beautiful, not thank you for coming, perfect. Like I was a prop that had arrived undamaged. During the first hour, I played the role. I smiled for photos. I answered questions from distant relatives about where I had been stationed with the same careful vagueness service teaches you. I let Audrey position me near the floral wall. I let my mother introduce me to guests as our army girl in the same proud voice she used when people were listening, even though in private she called my work, that place you go when you don't want to deal with family. At 7:13, Major Hart texted me. Bank confirmed pending holds. Awaiting venue notice. Stay available. At 7:40, Claudia Kim texted. Venue payment flagged. Legal review active. I put my phone face down beside my plate. At 8:06, Audrey realized something was wrong. Her planner leaned down and whispered in her ear. Audrey's face stiffened for half a second, then smoothed. She stood and followed the planner into the hallway. My mother went after them. My father watched the door, then looked at me. That was the first time he looked afraid. They returned 10 minutes later. Audrey's cheeks were pink. My mother's mouth was tight. My father was angry in the way men get angry when panic needs somewhere to stand. The speeches were supposed to begin after dessert. My father moved them up. He stood, tapped his glass, and talked first about love, family, sacrifice, and the cost of bringing people together. Then he said some people had forgotten what family meant. Some people came home from service thinking their money made them better than everyone else. Some people did not understand that a wedding was not just an expense, but a family milestone. Every sentence moved closer to me. Audrey lowered her eyes. My mother placed a protective hand on her shoulder. Then my mother stood. That surprised me. My mother preferred emotional ambushes from a seated position. Standing meant she wanted witnesses. She looked directly at me. Hannah, I'm going to say this because someone needs to. Your sister's wedding has been almost destroyed tonight because you decided to make an issue over money that helped this family. The room shifted. A bridesmaid whispered, "What?" My mother continued. Audrey has cried for weeks because she knew you would turn this into something ugly. I could hear my pulse in my ears, not fast, loud. My father added, "You were deployed. You had money sitting there. Your sister needed help." Audrey wiped under one eye. Evan looked at her, confused now, not protective. That mattered. Confusion can become truth if nobody smothers it quickly enough. My mother lifted her chin. That money paid for Audrey's wedding, so don't come in here acting like you've been robbed. There it was. Clean, public, recorded by at least 3 phones because half the younger guests had started filming when voices rose. I looked at Audrey. She smiled through tears. Not big, not enough for most people to notice. Enough for me. I set my water glass down. I folded my hands in my lap. And I said nothing. My father took that silence as victory. You're not on base now, he said. You don't get to scare this family with paperwork. The double doors opened behind him. Major Elise Hart walked in wearing her service uniform, posture straight, expression unreadable. Claudia Kim entered beside her in a dark suit, holding a folder. Behind them came the venue's event director, pale and blinking too often, clutching a tablet against his chest. The room did not go silent all at once. It quieted in pieces. First the bridesmaids, then the cousins, then the older relatives, then my father when he noticed everyone was looking behind him. Major Hart stopped just inside the room. "Good evening," she said. "I'm Major Elise Hart, Judge Advocate General's Corps. I need to speak with Sergeant First Class Hannah Vale, Denise Vale, Warren Vale, and Audrey Vale regarding unauthorized access to military pay deposits and an active fraud investigation." A champagne glass slipped from someone's fingers and hit carpet with a dull thud. Audrey stood so fast her chair scraped backward. My mother whispered, "Oh my God." Major Hart looked at me briefly. "Sergeant First Class." "Ma'am," I said. That one word changed the room more than a speech would have. People heard the rank. They heard the professional tone. They heard that I was not a daughter having a tantrum. I was a service member being addressed by legal authority. Claudia stepped forward and placed the folder on the nearest table, but did not open it toward the crowd. Northstar Community Bank has placed temporary holds on several transactions connected to disputed funds, she said. Those funds originated from Sergeant First Class Vale's deployment pay account and were transferred without her authorization. My mother said, "This is a misunderstanding." Major Hart looked at her. "Then, this will be your opportunity to cooperate with the investigation." My father tried to recover first. "This is a private family matter." "No," Major Hart said, "it is not." The venue director swallowed. "I'm sorry, but if the final payment is under fraud review, we cannot proceed with tomorrow's event under the current contract." Audrey turned toward him. "You can't cancel my wedding." "I'm not canceling anything," he said, voice shaking. "The payment is invalid pending review. We require verified funds." Evan finally stepped away from Audrey. "What payment?" he asked. Audrey looked at my mother. That was the wrong direction. Everyone saw it. Claudia opened the folder enough to remove a summary page, still angled away from the room so no private account information showed. The disputed transfers include payments to Lakeside Manor events, White Harbor Florals, Crescent Catering, Bellamy Bridal, and a honeymoon escrow account, she said. Additional bank records indicate a replacement debit card was mailed to Denise Vale's address and used for wedding-related purchases. My mother's face lost color. My father said, "We were going to put it back." I closed my eyes for 1 second. The room heard him. Audrey heard him. Evan heard him. Major Hart did not move. "Mr. Vale, I strongly advise you not to make further statements without counsel." That was when Audrey began to cry for real. Not the delicate crying she used at fittings, not the soft tremble she brought out when she wanted Dad to pay for something. This was panic, raw and ugly. "Mom said Hannah wouldn't care," she said. "She said it was basically family savings." My mother snapped. Audrey stopped talking. But it was too late. The truth had arrived, and it was not dressed for the wedding. Evan stared at Audrey like he was seeing a stranger wearing a face he had kissed. "You knew?" he asked. Audrey pressed both hands to her mouth. My father sat down slowly. Tyler, my brother, whispered, "Dad," and for once my father had no command ready. Major Hart turned to me. "Sergeant First Class Vale, do you wish to make any statement here?" The entire room looked at me. This was the moment they had wanted earlier. The emotional daughter, the angry sister, the soldier making a scene. I stood. The uniform felt heavier than it had all night, but in a good way. Weight can be burden. It can also be anchor. I looked at my mother first. "You said the money went where it belonged." Her eyes filled with tears. Then I looked at Audrey. "You were right about one thing. It did pay for a wedding." Her lower lip trembled. I looked at my father last. "But it never belonged to you." No one spoke. I sat back down. That was all. Major Hart handled the rest. She informed them that further communication about the disputed funds needed to go through counsel. Claudia explained that recovery would begin with pending vendor balances, then proceed through dispute channels. The venue director repeated, now with more certainty, that the wedding could not proceed unless verified replacement funds were provided by noon the next day. There were no replacement funds. Of course there were not. Audrey had built her dream wedding on money stolen from a deployed sister, and prayers that shame would keep me quiet. Shame had failed. Process had not. The guests began leaving in clusters. Some hugged Audrey because people are uncomfortable, and hugs are easier than moral clarity. Some avoided my eyes. Some looked at me with something close to respect, which almost made me angrier. I had been worthy of respect before the folder. Evan came to me near the hallway. His face was gray. "I didn't know," he said. "I believe you." His eyes filled. I should have asked more questions. "Yes." He nodded, accepting the word because there was nothing else to do with it. Behind him, Audrey was sitting in a chair beneath the floral arch, sobbing into both hands while my mother knelt beside her. My father stood near the bar with his arms at his sides, not folded now. Tyler looked between everyone like the youngest child in him had finally realized our parents were not the judges of right and wrong. They were participants. Major Hart walked with me to the lobby. Outside the ballroom, the noise dropped away. No candles, no flowers, no performance, just marble floors, a front desk, and the distant hum of an ice machine. "You did well," she said. I wanted to say more. "I know. I still do. I know that too." I almost laughed. "Is that legal advice?" "That is human advice," she said. "The legal advice is to let the process keep doing its job." Claudia joined us and handed me a copy of the initial freeze confirmation. "Some funds should be recoverable," she said. "Not all, but significant." "Thank you." She nodded. "I'm sorry this happened." That sentence almost broke me, because she was the first person all night who said it, without asking anything from me afterward. I drove home in silence. My phone lit up so many times on the passenger seat that I finally turned it off at a red light. My mother called 18 times before midnight. Audrey sent one message. "Please don't let them cancel tomorrow." My father sent none. The wedding was officially postponed at 9:14 the next morning. By noon, it was canceled. Evan's parents withdrew their contribution. The venue released a formal non-payment notice. The honeymoon booking froze. The florist held delivery. The catering company demanded verified funds, then backed down after receiving the fraud notification. The white roses were never used. That should not have satisfied me. It did a little. I am not proud of that. I am honest about it. For the next month, my family tried every door except accountability. First, they tried guilt. My mother left voicemails about how Audrey could barely get out of bed. My father said I had made the family look criminal in front of everyone. Tyler texted that I could have handled it after the wedding, which told me exactly how deep the family training ran. Then they tried minimizing. They said it was a loan. They said Mom planned to replace it. They said Dad did not understand what he signed. They said Audrey thought I knew. They said nobody meant harm. Meaning harm is not required for harm to be real. Then they tried bargaining. If I withdrew the complaint, they would create a repayment plan. If I stopped cooperating with the bank, they would sell some jewelry. If I told Base Legal it was a misunderstanding, Dad would apologize privately. Privately. That word again. They wanted public forgiveness for private theft and private apology for public humiliation. I let the process answer. The bank recovered $29,000 from frozen vendor balances and escrow holds. The remaining amount became part of a restitution agreement. My mother and father both signed statements acknowledging unauthorized access. Audrey signed one too after Evan ended the engagement, and her attorney explained that denial was becoming more expensive than truth. There were no dramatic handcuffs. There rarely are. What came instead was better in some ways and worse in others. Monthly payments, frozen credit lines, legal fees, a canceled wedding that everyone in town knew had not been canceled because of stress, no matter how many times my mother tried to use that word. The first restitution payment arrived on a Tuesday. I opened my banking app and looked at the amount. $600. It was small compared to what they took. It was enormous compared to every apology they did not give. I created a spreadsheet. Date, amount, balance, notes. You can call that cold if you want. I call it peace with columns. 3 months later, my father came to my townhouse. I watched him through the doorbell camera for almost a full minute before answering. He looked older, not weak, just less certain that certainty would open doors. "Hannah," he said. "Dad." He glanced past me into the house he had nearly helped steal from by draining the money meant to secure it. "Your mother wants to know if you'll come for Thanksgiving." "No." He nodded as if he expected that. "Audrey won't be there." That doesn't change my answer. He looked down at his shoes. You know, when you were gone, your mother worried all the time. I waited. She didn't handle it well. The wedding gave her something to focus on. There it was, a new frame, not theft, not fraud, a mother's anxiety wearing a wedding dress. I said, she focused on my bank account. He flinched. For once, he did not argue. I signed something I shouldn't have, he said. Yes. I told myself it was temporary. Yes. I'm sorry. The words sounded unused in his mouth. I did not rush to rescue him from them. Finally, I said, I believe you are sorry now. He looked up. That's not the same as repairing it, I said. I know. I was not sure he did. But I let him stand with the sentence. After he left, I sat at my kitchen table and opened the folder Major Hart had helped me build. Every printed transfer, every screenshot, every notice, every payment trace. Not because I needed to relive it, because for years my family had relied on me losing track of what really happened under the weight of what they wished had happened. I was done losing track. If this story sounds harsh to you, maybe you have never been the reliable one. Maybe you have never watched people turn your discipline into a resource they think they can withdraw from without permission. Maybe you have never come home from serving your country and found your own family waiting with a bill you never agreed to pay. But if you have, then you know. You know why I stayed quiet at that dinner. You know why the file mattered. You know why the moment Major Hart said my rank, the whole room changed. Because rank is not just decoration. Records are not just paper. And silence is not weakness when it is standing beside evidence. Audrey moved out of state the following spring. Evan married someone else 2 years later. My mother still sends birthday texts that say, "Hope you're well," as if nothing happened between the commas. Tyler eventually apologized, not beautifully, but honestly enough. My father makes his restitution payments on time. I paid down the townhouse. Not as fast as I had planned. But I did it. On the day the final payment cleared, I stood in my kitchen, wearing sweatpants instead of uniform, holding coffee instead of a case folder, and felt something loosen in me that had been tight since the bank first called. No applause. No speeches. No white roses. Just my name, my account, my house, my work, my life back where it belonged. I still have the dress uniform from that rehearsal dinner. It hangs in a garment bag in the back of my closet. Sometimes I see the edge of it when I'm reaching for a coat, and for 1 second I am back in that ballroom under all those flowers, watching my mother turn stolen money into a lesson about family. Then I remember what happened next. The doors opened. Base Legal walked in. The files spoke. And the wedding stopped cold. That is the part my family hates most, I think. Not the money, not the canceled venue, not even the embarrassment. They hate that I did not become the scene they expected. They gave me a room full of people and waited for me to break. I gave them procedure. They gave me accusation. I gave them silence. They gave my deployment pay to a wedding. I gave the truth to the people authorized to carry it. And when it arrived, it did not shout. It froze everything.